So, everything good and bad about the Gen 7 Pokemon games. So, welcome back, everyone. Yep, that is right. Now, next time I kind of do plan to review a certain scientific Railgun. So, of course, I'll get into that later. But basically, let's talk about the Gen 7 games. Obviously, you all know the drill. I'm basically just going to be going through Pokemon Sun, Moon, Ultra Sun, and Ultra Moon, as well with Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, and talk about the Virtual Console releases for the Gen 2 games. So, let's just get into the video with probably one of the best things about Sun and Moon, and that is, of course, the story for these games. All of them. Ultra Sun and Moon did have a terrific story, even if they did kind of cut out some stuff from Sun and Moon, and Let's Go is pretty much just well, it's just Pokemon Yellow and Fire and Leaf Green, a fresh coat of paint, and really nothing else. So, of course, obviously, well, I also gotta say that the post game for these ones were, of course, terrific. The introductions of Trials were pretty fun too. It definitely added a lot. It definitely added a lot to these games and made them much more interesting. I'm glad that Sword and Shield did go back to normal gyms, but I'm also glad that they did something else with, the gym battles too. Definitely makes these games much more special. The OST was also pretty fun too. Lots of memorable tracks in this game, and honestly, like usual, these games have terrific music. Next up is, of course, the visuals, were also pretty fun. Pokemon Sun and Moon did have a slight graphical upgrade compared to the Gen 6 games, and they look terrific, even if they don't really run well on certain DSs. Next up, of course, the Elite Four is, of course, challenging. This is obviously given. Ultra Sun and Moon, they kind of feel a bit weaker. I mean, Hala in Sun and Moon, he was definitely a force to be reckoned with, but Mullane, he's just kind of weak in my opinion. But overall, they were pretty interesting. I also think Kukui was a lot stronger than Howl, but I'll get into that probably in a future video. Next up, we of course have the Wormholes and Island Scan. These were a fun way of collecting Pokemon. Definitely really interesting, and personally really loved them. I would like to see Pokemon do something else like this in the future, but honestly, we don't know. Other great things about this generation was, of course, Let's Go releasing. Now, sure, I've been critical of these games, and honestly, kind of do feel like they're more of a safe entry in the series to kind of capitalize on Pokemon Go at the time, but at the same time, they were fairly interesting. Not to mention, we also saw Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal get released on Virtual Console, which was also cool. I know that these are Gen 2 games, and I have already covered them before, along with the remakes, but considering that they did get a re-release in Gen 7, I figured that I should bring them up. Unfortunately, there's quite a few cons. Of course, before we move on to those, we of course have, no HMs. Those were, of course, great. Same thing with trainer customization. Unfortunately, with the cons, and there are quite a few, we, of course, have, Z-moves are a bit lame, actually. Honestly, out of all the gimmicks Pokemon has done in these games, okay, excluding triple and rotation battles, those are honestly worse. Z-moves didn't really feel too interesting. I mean, compared to Mega Evolutions and later Dynamaxing and the whole Terra stuff, it just kind of feels like a lot more could have been done with those. Like, it's not a bad idea on paper, it's just, Obviously, next up, we of course have the Festival Plaza and GTS infested with hackers. This is probably not an issue anymore, considering that online services are shut off on a DS. But before then, yeah, it was bad. I mean, you could get traded a hacked Pokemon, the trade could partially go through, and then you'd be locked out of trading Pokemon for a bit, which was annoying. And if you were a legitimate player, well, you kind of got screwed over because, there was no reason. And it sucks that Nintendo never fixed this. Next up, we of course have Team Rainbow Rocket. And yeah, they were kind of dumb. There's really nothing special about them. It's just glorified fan service. It did give us an interesting theory that Diamond Pearl remix were next. But unfortunately, Team Rainbow Rocket didn't really add anything to this. Next up, we of course have the Ultra Sun and Moon Pokedex, was of course tedious. I've gotten into this in a few videos already, so I'll keep it short, but SOS battles really sucked in this generation, and it's thanks to this that I think Gen 7 had one of the harder Pokedexes to complete. Next up, we of course have Zygarde. Yeah, Zygarde felt tacked on. I don't know what Legend Z8 is going to do with Zygarde, if Zygarde has an important role in that game, but in the Gen 7 games, it just kind of felt like Nintendo was like, oh, we kind of forgot Zygarde existed. Well, let's just make it so you collect like 100 of these things and just throw them in Sun and Moon, a game where Zygarde doesn't really even have anything to do. It's just wasted potential, and it kind of just says that these games really should have just been in the oven for a bit more. Believe me, I will get into that. Next up, we of course have trainer clothes for kind of X and Y had better customization. I do like that trainer customization is in these games. It's just the fact that it kind of feels limited in these games. It's kind of disappointing. Not mention, certain colors are locked to other versions, like all the brighter colors you get in Sun and Ultra Sun, all the darker colors you get in Moon and Ultra Moon. It's kind of lame. Of course, now that I remember it, we of course have the clock being 12 hours ahead. It was always a really good idea. Definitely encourage you to play both versions, and it was a very unique idea, and personally, think it turned out well. I would love to see that in a future Pokemon game. Finally, we of course have, let's go with kinda The catching mechanics kinda sucked, and trainer customization was kinda weird. Overall, let's go. They're not bad games, it's just honestly they're probably the most unnecessary games alongside with Brilliant and Shining, but overall, Gen 7 was actually pretty fun. It was probably one of my favorite generations, and I have a lot of fun playing these ones. I look forward to whatever happens next with Pokemon, and obviously I will of course be covering the Gen 8 games, and of course Scarlet and Violet here in the next few videos. And as always, thank you all for watching. Thank you all for 8 subs, and I hope you all enjoy this one, and see you all next time with a certain scientific Railgun review. It's, a re-review, since I already did it on my previous channel, but I'll get more into why I'm reviewing it again. But until then, have a nice day. Thank you all for watching, and you're all cool.